handing the platform to Jayashree to take over.
Okay, thanks, Kajal. It's my pleasure to be here. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And I'm all excited to be here. It's been a pleasure and thanks, Job, for her for inviting me for this one. And let me go ahead and tell you what I'm going to talk about. As Kajal said, we are going to see how we are going to build our own personal brand, right? Our personal brand is very important. Okay, so just a little bit introduction about myself. I'm the founder CEO of Appreiz, which is a HR tech startup. And I'm also the founder CEO of a company called Mojo Karma, which is more relevant for jobs for her, because there we do train women. We have training programs for women who want to reinvent themselves after taking a break, or even within their career, if they're looking to reinvent themselves. That's probably, we run a program for that. And we also do a program for leadership for mid-level leaders to accelerate their career. I'm also an executive coach, and I have about 25 plus years of experience in the IT software industry. And then now I've turned myself into an entrepreneur, but still continuing on technology, along with doing my coaching and training. And and I'm also a published author, and I'm award winner for Women Super Achiever Award. And just to give a little bit background about myself. So let's get on. What are we going to talk about today? Right? Today it's about developing your own personal brand and how do we bring it to life? What are the ways which we can bring it to life? So what I'm going to talk about is briefly on what it is meant to have a personal brand, what is a personal brand, and art of personal branding. How do we create art and how do we capture it? And how does it relate to the PI model, which is about performance, image, and exposure? And how are you going to bring it into the life as in terms of LinkedIn and the job profile, which is what everybody else is going to look at, what your brand is all about. So I wanted to keep it interactive. I know it is very hard when we are doing online, but still the chat box is there. So what I would like to see, we all have heard about these brands, right? I've thrown some brand names on the slide. What I want to hear from you is on the chat box, what do you get? Some 3 to 4 words. What brings the characteristics of those brands? What do you remember when you look at the Amul girl or the Maggie or the Tata brand or the BMW or the Apple? What comes to your mind? What are the characteristics of the product comes to your mind? Put it in the chat box, and I want to look at the chat box and see what are you all thinking about. And yeah, simplicity, honest. Maggie, just 2 minutes. BMW, it's about the superior quality and the class. Amul, it's all about being Indian. It's cooperative, it's popular, reputation, the tasty, and trust, innovation from some of these brands. Maggie, it's about the comfort. Tata is about the trust. Amul is about the pride because it's Indian. BMW, it's about the class, the luxury, and the brand. So by just looking, wow, it's all kinds of status, quality, luxury, it keeps coming, right? So this is what the brand denotes. So when you look at something, you immediately see what is it that the people recall about it and how do they perceive it, right? So that is what these consumer brands are about. Tata, it's about faith and integrity. So these brands have been over the years, whatever they communicate, whatever they show as ads, whatever they talk about, it's all about what their brand, which they have seen, what their people want to perceive it, and also what's the image they have created, and that's what we recall them. So let me go. Okay. What about this brand? How many of you know what this brand is about? On the screen, Nike. And what is the Nike's tagline? Anybody Nike tagline? Just do it. Yes. Just by seeing that, we all know it's a Nike and it is a tagline, correct? So it is about what is a brand? So it's a tool that's used in the business world to describe all the information. What do we want to know about the brand? So when you talk about Nike, we all know it's about the shoes, it's about the running, it's about the walking, it's about the quality, it's about the comfort, everything it gives, right? And the perceptions that are connected with a product or service. So what's a brand? It's a tool that's used in the business world, which we are going to take it to our personal world and see how we are going to create a personal brand. And it is to describe the information. So it's about describing what you are and what are the perceptions. What's the image that you want others to have about your product or a service? It's about creating your own identity. Okay, so now what is a personal brand? Right? Personal brand is an image that is created in someone's mind, right? So it's an image that you're creating in others' mind. And for that to happen, you need to have your own image first created in your mind. What do you want? What is the emotional response you want the people to have about you when they hear about you, when they see you, when they meet you in person? So it's all your brand carries either when you're talking to somebody, when you're meeting somebody, or seeing them in person. What is that image or the emotional response you want the other person to create about you? So that image you need to have in your mind first. And then that's the image which others you want to work on. How do we create that same image which is created on their mind when they see you, when they meet you, and when they talk to you, right? So Jeff Bezos says what people say about you when you leave the room, right? That's you're leaving your brand, you're leaving your identity. So that is what they remember after you leave the room. So you need to work on that. It takes a lot of time and in effort you need to do to get to that brand. Let's see some responses on the chat box, because I want to ask you, how many of you all have seen the Kung Fu Panda movie? Yes. So Kung Fu Panda never looked like a warrior, right? He was not born as a warrior, but he wanted to become a warrior. And he did a lot of it's a great example of the personal brand creation. He invested a lot of time, energy, and trying to learn the art and then become the master of that art, right? So that is what we need to do for ourselves. It's like some of these movies, I love animated movies, right? So they actually teach a lot of life lessons for us. And Kung Fu Panda in that is it teaches a lot of lessons, and one of it is about the personal brand, right? So let's okay, now I'm keeping the chat box open. I want to see how many of you recognize this person, and when I put this person, what is it that comes to your mind? What is the quality or the characteristics of Nelson Mandela? Okay, I've got the answers. Nelson Mandela. What do you recall about the person? Humanity, perseverance, is a warrior. It fought for freedom, spirit, fighter spirit, resilience, simplicity. So, yes, so that's the brand he has created for himself. Is a philanthropist, planning. He stood out, fought for racism. So those are some of the brand, the characteristics or the image which we have about Nelson Mandela, and that's the brand is created for leadership, and you can call it a servant leadership, right? So because it's all about being humility and serving others. So now let's look at one more brand, and these are personal brands. So first we talked about consumer brand, and now we are looking examples of personal brand. Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, Facebook. What is she known for? What is she known for? What is it that she's a CEO? Yes. Lean in. There you go. Somebody pointed. Woman leader. Lean in is what is the brand which she has created for herself, right? When she came up with the book, Lean In, and then she started talking about lean in. Everywhere she talks about lean in. It's about appearance, how women leaders have to grow. So it's about women leadership. So that's the brand she has created, an identity for herself. And that is what we all have to work on in creating a unique brand, right? It has to have something uniqueness. Everybody is born with some unique characteristics. So we need to find that and create it as our brand and bring it to the workplace and see how it can fit into the workplace. Okay, so now let's talk about what is a personal brand, because there's a lot of people in the world, and like how you see these umbrellas out there, and you want to be that yellow umbrella and create a brand for yourself. So what is it? Why is it important? Why should we have a personal brand? Because that is how people will remember you. It's about it's what makes you unique, relevant. It will send a clear message. It's an image what others will carry about you when you are in the room and when you leave the room. And it's about who you are and what you are. Yes, it shows your USP, your unique proposition. It attracts opportunities. People will know you by certain things, and opportunities will come to you when you create that unique brand for yourself. It's about making your presence there. So when you are in the room with a group of people, you need to have that brand so that people know you're there and they will remember you that you were there. It's about creating credibility for yourself. It's let me it helps you to manage your own reputation. It helps you articulate what your value is, what do you stand for, what are your achievements. It comes out. So we will work on a draft brand statement as we get on with the thing. So that's why it is very important for us to have a personal brand, and we need to bring it into life also. So how do we make it to page down? It doesn't. Okay, how will your brand be assessed? Right now, if we create a personal brand, how are people going to assess you? First, visually, what another person sees when they see you. Verbally, what do they hear when you speak? And behaviorally, what they observe. So all these three are your brand. So you need to, it's about like walking the talk, right? So what they see, and when you talk and when you behave, it's all about, it's your brand being created. And remember, it's perception is reality. What people perceive you as a brand is what becomes your brand. So that is why you need to work on what is the emotional response you want the other person to have when they look at you. And that is what you need to create yourself as the brand. And so once a perception is formed, it becomes part of your brand. So that is what we need to work on. And it is perception is reality, right? And your brand is going to help you to manage your own reputation and articulate your value. It is going to help you to broaden stakeholders. We are going to network based on our brand. We are going to have connects based on our brand. And people will come knocking on the door. It's what you create, right? So what is the image you create is what is going to attract opportunities. And nowadays, in the social media world where we are in, it is our brand is there everywhere. Whether we like it or not, once we are on the internet, we have created a brand for ourselves. It could be our personal Facebook sites, it could be our personal Instagram accounts, and then your professional LinkedIn or the jobs for her profile, but it is a brand. So that is where we need to work all the more. You need to make sure your brand stays the same, whether it's your personal page, personal social media, or your professional social media, right? It has to have carry. And that is why we are looking at what is unique about you and how do you want others to perceive. And your personal social media also, you need to make sure that it stays in relevant to what you want them to see as your professional work as well. And it's all about what we do, it's about what we say, it's about how we feel and how we react to things. So we cannot alter what a person forms an image about ourselves. But what is in our control when we are creating a brand? Well, what we have in our control is that what we do, what we say, and how we feel. Those are in our control, and how we react to things. We cannot see how others will react to it, but this is what helps us in creating a brand when we know what is in our control. Okay, so the next slide, we are going to start looking at some of the things which you need to have to create your brand. So let us take a few minutes to talk about what goes in creating your personal branding. First is you need to be aware of your unique skills, abilities, and experiences. So skills, and so whatever you have been doing, you find out what has been your unique skill, what is your strength, and sometimes you can use some of these tools which are available to find out the strengths, right? It is not like when you start writing your resume and you put some strengths, right? That is not enough. So you need to really introspect and find what is your unique skill, ability, what are the experiences. When you look about your experiences, automatically you can from that derive what your skills and abilities are. So those are your assets. So like how each of these consumer brands had a product behind it, and these are your assets, right? What is the skill you have, what is the ability, what are the experiences you have gained, and those are your assets. And now it is all about how do you want to project it to others, how do you want others to see, and what are the personality traits do you want them to see. So think of 3 words which your family or friends, customers, colleagues, or managers used to describe you. So you have what you think your skills are, your abilities and experiences. Now we are looking at what others have said about you. What do they say about you? If you haven't, you could just go and ask them, can you describe in 3 words about me? So then they will be very honest and you will get what you want to hear from, especially from your family. They're not going to be all nice and thing, right? They'll tell you exactly who you are. Or friends, some of the friends you can trust. And then you also, there is a, so this is what they are saying about you. But if it is different from what you want it to be, then you want to find the words which you want them to use to describe you. So what are the words you want to be known for, right? Then you can bridge the gap. So this is what I want them to perceive me, but this is what they are looking at. How do I make that? So how do I bridge the gap? How do I present myself better so that I be known for these things? And what is it that actually do that creates this impression, right? So we may not have time. If it's a full-fledged class, we may spend time in each one of you taking some time to think about it. But what I'm putting here is I want you all to take the time to, even if you don't do it in this session, I want you all to take the time later on, just go back and reflect on it. And how can you create that as an impression and turn it into your personal brand? What things matter most to you? What is your value? So that is also your brand, because if it's about integrity, we talked about when you looked at some of the brands, it's about honesty, integrity, right? Or the quality. So what is it, the values which are important to you? At any cost, you will not go away from those, deviate from those values. Then another thing is, what is your passion? Because if you talk about, again, I'll go back to the Kung Fu Panda example. When you look at Po, right, he is not, you don't see him as a warrior, but he creates himself. He's passionate. He dreams of becoming of the Kung Fu Panda or the warrior, right? He wants to become the warrior. He wants to be known for the warrior. So he goes and he because he's the only one who finally beats the Tai Lung. So, and he uses his strength, his body as a thing. So he knows what his strengths are and he is working on it to achieve what is the passion and trying to create a brand for himself. So that is what you need to see. What is your passion? And try to create the brand and the identity which also talks about your passion. And that's what you want people to remember you about. And that's the identity you want to create for yourself. So we need to get all this information first before we start creating a brand statement, or even like saying, this is the identity I want to create for myself, right? So take some time, to reflect on this, because we will use some of this as the next exercise, which I'm going to spend a few minutes on. And we will take about 5 to 6 minutes on this, depending. Let me check the time here. I think, yeah, we can take about 6 minutes for this. What I want you all to do is grab a piece of paper or notebook right next to you and look at what are your values. Just write it down. You can go and refine it. So we are going to create a very draft statement, but for that, to start with, think about what are your values. What are your passions? Like, what interests you? And what are your goals for the next 3 to 5 years? What are your top attributes? Top adjectives that describe the value which you offer. So when you're creating that, what is it that you're offering for people to see that you're good at something, right? So what are your strengths? So work on this, take about 5 minutes, reflect on it, and just write it down, and then we will see how we can convert it into a brand statement later on. So don't focus too much on what your flaws are, right? Focus on what you're good at when you're doing this exercise. Think of what you are good at. And sometimes we may think some of this as our flaws, but others may perceive it as our strength. So always look at it from both sides. And that is where, when I talked about in the previous slide, when what is it that others describe you as, right? If you find that out, that will help in terms of creating your final brand for yourself. I hope you're all working on it. Since I can't see everyone, I hope you're all working on it. So because the next thing which we will do is, how do we create a brand statement using these things? Then I would want some examples to come about here and see what everybody has come up with. But this, do it on your own. Keep it ready so that we are able to work on your statement. Okay, so what is, so one of the questions I see here is, can you explain difference between the top attributes and the strengths? So the strength is, what is it that your strength comes up, right? Which is your, say you're good at something. It's communication is your strength, or like interpersonal skills is your strength, right? Or negotiation is your strength. So those are some of the things which come up as your strengths. How you're working with people, or you're a people person, or you're good with numbers. And those are some of the strengths. What are your top attributes is, how will somebody, this is exactly like, what will somebody describe you when you are in your, look at it, if you have some experiences, if your worker has, some of your co-workers to describe you, how would they describe you? What are the adjectives that they're using? And, or your family, or anybody, what are the adjectives that they use to describe you? Oh, she is a person of great, honest integrity, right? Or she knows how to talk to people. So what are those like adjectives which they use? And that's your like a top attributes. Or what is it that you think is what adjectives which you would use for yourself when you're introducing yourself, right? So those are some of the things where you can mix what others say about you as well as what you think you want to be known for as well. So let's move on to the next one. How are we going to create the brand, right? Using the assessment worksheet, right? I want you to draft 2-3 sentences. So it is only a draft. I see, because this cannot be a complete one in this 5 minutes or 7 minutes. I want you to work on it and then get some feedback, talk to people with whom, like your friends or the work colleagues, and get some feedback on that, and then see how, whether that resonates with what others sees you as well. Or if you have done any kind of a 360 feedback, you know what others are saying about you. So that will also come as an input for you. But for now, let's just use this worksheet which you have and create a draft statement, right? It should summarize your attributes, values, strengths. It should differentiate what your unique value is. It should feel inspiring, because only when you have such a brand, like, inspiring brand statement, then you will carry that image with you. You will be pumped up. It's like, oh, this is the brand I'm going to create, and this is the brand I want people to look at. So no one else has the same brand as you. Every person is unique. So it is the brand which you create. So you can be as inspiring, and this is what you want others to see you as. So let me put an example of the brand, which I relate to it as much as it's mine as well. So it's a experienced entrepreneurial business leader, right? That I deliver value through teamwork, collaboration, because that is my expertise. I love working with people. I love working with collaboration. Even when I'm doing my startup, I love collaborating with my partners and decision making. And my other side, when I talk about the training, I talk about the leadership training, I talk about the coaching. So I do, like, it's a proven caring for coaching coach focused on helping others to be better and further their careers, right? So that is in the work thing. And when I'm talking about life coach, then it's about like in their personal life as well. So this is something, it captures in essence what I am as well. It's like I'm an experience. I come with about 25 plus years of experience, and that's in big organizations like Microsoft and GE. And I am an entrepreneurial person now, so that it shows. And how I deliver value. So those are important for me, which as a strength, I call out those are my strengths. I have a teamwork, collaboration, decision making are my strengths. And I'm a caring coach. So that's an adjective which people will use, right? Caring coach, focused on helping others. So that's like some of the examples. So this is what we want you to create. Just go ahead and create, try creating it, put 2-3 sentences, and you can refine it later on. But I would like to see some examples of, if people want to share, then we can look at it, and it will give some ideas for others as well who are working on it. So take about 3-4 minutes again, like let's do even 5 minutes. Let's take 5 minutes, because at least that you did some exercise. Let's convert it into that statement.
Hi, Jayashree.
Yes.
Jayashree, did you want to start taking questions by about 4-5?
4-5. Yeah. Okay. So let's do this. What's the 4? Can we do it like after like about 4:10 or so, or no?
Okay, but we will have about 5 minutes left, because we will have to wrap up by about 4:15.
4:50. Yeah, sure. So then let's go ahead, and I will just quickly talk about and then take questions, right? Because this is most important part of like having worked on the brand statement. How do you bring it to your life, right? How do you bring it to life? That you have created the statement, and so it is about how you work on. You need to figure out the connections. You need to figure out who you want your target audience is. Who are you creating this brand for? And how do you connect with them? Right? Who needs to see you more positively? So if you talk about the LinkedIn, say for example, we created a brand for ourselves in LinkedIn, we know exactly our summary and everything. So now we want to see who are your connections, right? So you need to connect to those groups, and then create a presence for yourself. how do you want to show up? How do you know you are good at certain skills? So how you are going to show it up on the with your connections, and how are you going to network with the right people, and how are you, it's about where you want to be visible. So you need to work on all this. It's not that I create a brand for myself and I sit in my own small room. It's not going to work, right? So I need to be seen at the places where I need to be seen. I need to be seen in the groups where I want to create a brand for myself. And how we can, in social media nowadays, sitting at home, we can create our own brands. That is the biggest advantage of the social media we have. You can write blogs, you can speak, you can immediately do a Facebook Live and create your own videos. You can put it on YouTube, Instagram, anywhere. So talk about how you think about how you're going to create the brand for yourself, right? So other thing which I want to quickly talk about is, why are we creating this brand? I don't know, many of you might have heard the pie model or not. It's about performance is only just 10% of the key to our success. Image is 30%, and that is what we are working on when we are creating the personal brand. So 30% is image. So you need to put in that image effort to create what others you want others to see you. What's the image you want them to have about you? And exposure is about connecting to the right people, finding the right projects, and being visible, being at the right groups, at the right forums, so that your exposure is there. And so this is how your success is determined, right? So image is very important. So take time to work on your image. So a little bit of example on how do you create your LinkedIn profile. But first, focus on your key industry skills, where you are looking at, quantify your accomplishments, and complete your profile. That is very important. Use a professional photo. It's all about creating the brand. Don't have pictures about you, like, a very casual pictures. Have a professional photograph. Connections. This is where you are creating the brand for yourself. Connect with the groups. Start commenting on discussions. Show your presence. Follow people. Ask for recommendations. Put your recommendations there. This is what your others are saying. You're good at something, so create those recommendations for yourself. Put some time and effort and get some guidance. If you're not able to do it, LinkedIn is our gateway to professional network. And of course, with Jobs for Her profile, it combines both professional and personal achievements, because especially for women, you can translate a lot of your personal achievements into some of your strengths to get into the workplace. Because even if you have taken a break, you're doing a lot of other things, so you can channel those strengths which you have earned at that time into your professional life. And that's where the Profile Plus works very well. And having your profile, taking the time to put it, Jobs for Her is a great platform. So you guys want to make sure you have your profile up there, and it can be shared with the employers. And they also, people who are working with Jobs for Her will find you there, and it will be your entry to find and it also creates your brand, right? It is another forum. When somebody searches for your name, it is there. So they will find it. So work on it, take time, bring it to life. And just a quick about, I talked about it earlier also. So we do, as a Mojo Karma, we do 2 programs. We do for Reinvent, which is for re-entry to workplace. And we also do for leadership training for big career women. So if you have questions, reach out to me on that. And this is how you create your Me Inc., which is your assets, your values, your impact, your passions. We did that in our exercise earlier. Have that, spend some time, and your real strength comes from being your best you, as Po says, as the Kung Fu Panda says. Now I can take questions. Kajal.
Thank you for that, Jayashree. I'm sure there were a lot of insights and takeaways for the women who are attending the workshop. So to begin with, our first question is, we all know the importance of the elevator pitch, but how has that, according to you, you changed during this pandemic when hiring trends are changing and interviews are being conducted online with very few opportunities to network and connect in physical space?
Okay, so the elevator pitch is still important because even when you are doing online, if the recruitment has changed to the online world, but it is about how you are presenting yourself. And if it is, have the elevator pitch because that's what you're going to introduce yourself, and make sure, especially the pandemic has created. Another thing is people are spending a lot of time on the social media as well, so take some time to create that social media presence for yourself about with your brand. Go into a lot of these professional networks, forums, the blogs. If you're a developer, there are so many developer forums. Go put in your, come out as a person who has knowledge about it. And that's when people are moving, because a lot of things are being done on artificial intelligence, and that is also going to when you get before the interviews, people are mining about you, right? People know what you're done and what's your presence and everything. So make sure you have that. And I think the elevator pitch is still important, is like 1 minute of introduction. People may come online and say, hey, introduce yourself in a minute, right? So that can happen. So you still want to have your elevator pitch. So hope that answered that question.
Sure. Sure. Thank you, Jayashree. Also, we have a question from Jayashree who says, what are the three main factors to creating a brand and maintaining it?
The three main factors for creating a brand is, first, you want to know what is the image you want others to have, right? That is one basic thing you want to say. What is it that you want to be known for? That you need to know. And what is your target audience, right? Target audience also matters, right? Because who is your target audience? Then that's the brand, that's the image you want them to have about you. So finding the target audience, and then see how you're going to connect with those people and expose the brand which you have created for yourself and create connections. Those, I would say, are the three major things which you need to really know what it is about creating your personal brand.
Fabulous. So we do have a lot of rave reviews coming in for the session, Jayashree. A lot of women have thoroughly enjoyed it.
So,
Coming to my next question, it says, how do I erase my current brand and reintroduce a new one?
okay, so how do you erase? It's not very easy to erase your current brand, but then we said perception is reality, what others are seeing. But if you're reinventing yourself, say you have been known for a certain, being a certain type of person, now you are creating a new brand for yourself. This is what you want to be known. Then find how you can, with the right forums, start getting credibility in the right audience where you want to be known for. And once you start building that with that group of audience, then if you had left your brand with another type of audience, then slowly they will see a shift in what you are, and start communicating, right? If you're trying something new, that's a brand you're creating for myself. So I used to be with Microsoft. So earlier I was with Microsoft. Now I become an entrepreneur. So now I'll have to start talking about it. And when I introduce myself, this is what I'm known for. And now I'm doing something different. I'm doing coaching. Then I introduce myself separate, right? So you need to know what your audience is, knowing your audience, and then how do you create that brand in that audience? Start building that, and others will start perceiving you in a different way.
Fabulous. Thank you. And our last question would be, can personal achievements be included along with professional achievements? This is from Meena Kedia.
Yes, and but again, it depends. If the personal achievement you have got, is it bringing a certain strength of yours? It is showing a certain strength of yours. which can be translated into the workplace in some form or other, then definitely include that personal achievement, right? Say you have done certain certifications, that can help. Or say you did some volunteering work and that taught you about dealing with people, having constraints, working with constraints, even like motherhood, for example, you go through a lot of challenges. So convert that personal thing into how it is going to help in your professional world. Then it will help you to create that, because let's say you had challenges, you had constraints, and it made you much more workable person, and how you can work with any number of resources, constraints, and all that. You can show that. So you can bring in, as long as it will show some of your strengths and characteristics you're talking about into the professional world.
All right, Jayashree. With that, we do have time for one last question before we wrap up. The question is, how do I, how do we build a brand even when we aren't very experienced? We don't have too much experience to show. How do we then build our brand?
Okay, so with whatever experience you have, right, you can still create a brand for yourself. So, say for example, if you are a developer right now, you don't have that much of experience, but you are a developer, so you are good at something, you have certain skills. If somebody is talking about it on the net, developer forums, on the Stack Overflows, on something, like, go put in your word there, right? Say this is what you did and this worked out for you. And also some of it is also to try to gain that experience, and you can look for opportunities with that is the brand you want to create for yourself. Look for certain opportunities like volunteering, where you can easily find opportunities which will help you to identify with your brand and build your brand, right? So look for those things and see how you can strengthen the experience which is needed for your brand. So, and but you still create a brand. That's why we said it's an inspiring one, which is what you want it to be, because that is what is you want to establish yourself and start building on the experiences. You may not have it on the first day, but this is what you want to be known for. Start reading about it, get knowledge. You may not have practical experience, but you can get knowledge about it, and then start showcasing that knowledge. Then it becomes your experience.
Fantastic. Thank you. That was an amazing session, Jayashree. As I said, there was some great feedback coming in for the session. The women thoroughly enjoyed it, had a lot to take away. Thanks for being here, taking the time, and championing our cause at HerRising. For everyone else, well, thank you so much for joining us until now, but the day is not done. We will be beginning our awards in maybe 10 minutes. And we don't want you to go away anywhere, because we do have some amazing categories. We do have, women whose talent we want to showcase through what's coming up during the award. Please leave your feedback for this part of the day by hitting the feedback button on the BFairs platform. And don't forget to share all your experiences. Forget to spread the goodness that you have experienced here on your social media pages. Share it amongst your circles, your friends, your networks. You can use our hashtags, which is HerRising 2020 and Restart Rise. Stay tuned. We will be back. Neha Bagaria herself will be giving away the awards. Thank you for joining us until now. See you shortly.
Thank you.